Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to go over a real life example of someone who actually became rich just by following the fundamentals of investing. Being good with your money, having a strategy, and sticking to that strategy long term. So hey guys, welcome back to Money with Marcus. If you are new here, I do make videos every week just talking about personal finance and investing and really just trying to help you get a little bit better with your money and with your investing practice. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in today's video, we're just going to go over someone who retired a millionaire but didn't have the fancy job, didn't win the lotto, didn't YOLO all their money into Dogecoin or Bitcoin. They simply followed the basics of investing and stuck with it for the long term. And when he passed away, he was actually worth around $8 million. So his name was Ronald Reed, and Ronald spent most of his life working at a gas station and working as a janitor. So nothing fancy, nothing, crazy, didn't win the lotto. But when he had passed away, a lot of his friends and family were surprised to see that he was actually worth close to $8 million. Now, how did he do this? So the number one reason as to why he was so successful with his investing was Ronald was really patient. He didn't try to get rich quick. He didn't try to make a quick buck. He simply took advantage of compounding interest and let that money work for him over the long term. And as you can see, it worked out pretty well for him, right? So just a quick example, let's just say, he's working and saving and then his portfolio gets up to $100,000, right? Now, let's say over that long term, he averages what the market averages, which is around 10% roughly, right? So by the time he gets to that $100,000, 10% of that, he's making $10,000, right? Now, obviously he's going to keep, investing his money. He's going to keep working. And then he gets to a stage where his portfolio is now worth $500,000. Now that $500,000, 10% yield on that, he's now making $50,000. Now with the power of compounding, once the amounts get larger and larger, you really start to see the effects of compound interest, right? So, he's making interest on top of interest, and now he's up to $1 million, right? Now he's got $1 million and he's still making 10% on that. Now he's making $100,000. And obviously he invested all the way up until he was 92. So, this wasn't some short-term, kind of play for him. This was 40, 50 years kind of time horizon for him. So now he gets up to, over, let's just say, $5 million, right? His money's really been compounding. He's still making that 10%. So that $5 million now, 10% on that, and you're looking at $500,000 or $500,000 per year. So you can really see how taking advantage of compounding interest, how powerful it really is, and how the more your portfolio grows, the larger the amounts start to build up and the quicker it builds up. Now, the next reason why he was actually so successful is he lived well below his means, right? So he didn't live a flashy lifestyle. He didn't drive the nicest cars. He didn't eat out a whole bunch. In fact, he wore the same coat for years, and a lot of people in the town knew him because his coat was held together by, pins, by safety pins. He would do things like he would park his car like pretty far away just so that he wouldn't, he would avoid paying the parking meter. He would also never really eat out. The only time he ate out was at his local cafe that's at his local hospital, which is a really inexpensive breakfast. He drove a secondhand car. He really did everything he could to live below his means. And the reason why he was doing that is because obviously the more money he could save, the more money he could invest. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there now and, wear the same jacket for the next 10, 20 years or do anything as extreme as that. But as you can see, budgeting your money and living below your needs, it's a fundamental step of being successful financially, right? A lot of rich people, they don't really, truly wealthy people, they don't really, try to be flashy with the things they buy. So get a budget in place, right? Understand your spending habits. I actually have a video that can help you out with that, and start saving money now so you can invest a little bit more and get your portfolio building up for you. Now, once you've got your budget in place and you have a good understanding of your spending habits, the next thing that you can do, which is what he did, is you invest your money. It's quite obvious now. Obviously, you've heard me say that quite a few times already, but Mr. Reed actually spent a lot of his money in the stock market. He was heavily invested in stocks. In fact, by the time he died, he actually had around 95 stocks, right? He owned around 95 companies. He had a pretty broadly diversified portfolio, and he owned a lot of blue chip companies, really well-established companies, and basically held them for the long term, right? Now, the moral of the story here is not to tell you to go buy 95 companies or go invest in stocks alone, but it is important to invest your money. Don't just leave it sitting in a bank account. Don't just leave it sitting in your savings account where you're actually going to be losing money over the long term. So looking at his portfolio, you don't actually have to go out there. If you want to do something similar where you want to buy a bunch of stocks and hold it for the long term, You don't actually have to go out and buy 95 individual companies. It's actually quite cost inefficient. What you can do instead is buy an ETF. Again, I have a video explaining what an ETF is, so click on that now. But buy an ETF, which is just an exchange traded fund, buy a broad market index, which is going to be very similar to what he had actually done, and track the performance of the market. Again, the average return of the market over the last 100 years is roughly around 8 to 9% or 8 to 10%. Right, so the lesson there is, don't leave your money sitting in cash because you will be losing value over time. Invest it, whether it's into stocks, whether it's into real estate. Put your money to work for you because it can compound and grow over time. Now, another reason for his success was he had a lot of dividend paying companies, but when he was paid out the dividend, he reinvested that money. Once he got paid out a dividend, he just plowed that money into the same companies or bought more companies. And that accelerated the compounding effects of his portfolio. And as you can see, the end results, building it up all the way up to close to $8 million. Now, again, you don't have to buy dividend paying companies. Buy companies you understand, buy wonderful companies, buy them for their fundamentals and hold them for the long term. But the lesson to take from here is, instead of reinvesting dividends, reinvest any money that you any extra money that you actually come upon, right? Say you get a bonus at work, right? Say you get a performance bonus, or you just get a windfall of money. Put that money into the market to work for you. Instead of buying that thing you always wanted, take that money and put it back into the market, because as you can see, over the long term, it does pay off for you. And speaking of long term, this will actually then lead me to my next point, and that is he was investing for the long term. He is the true definition of a long-term investor. Not thinking 5 years, not thinking 10 years. He was investing 30, 40, 50 years, with that kind of time horizon in mind. Now, the reason why it's important to establish your time horizon is that it really allows you to ride out the fluctuations in the market, right? So just as a quick example, let's just say you buy into a company and then that company dips 10%, right? You still obviously believe in the company, you obviously still believe in the fundamentals, but that short dip, or whether it drops 10, 20%, it doesn't bother you because you know that you're actually in it for the next 20 to 30 years. So if you're in it for that long, why does it matter what it does tomorrow? Why does it matter if the stock or what the company does in the next, couple of weeks or months? Right? So don't fall into all the crazy hype that's going on in the market right now. If you find something you truly believe in a company and you believe in the fundamentals, keep it and hold on to it for the long term, unless something changes with the story of the company. So figure out your time horizon, put your money into the market, and leave it there to compound. Now, on top of all of that, Ronald was a constant learner, right? He spent a lot of time at his local library where he was reading up, articles on companies, like, he was reading up on the Wall Street Journal, reading different books that they had, which was also another way he saved money, by the way. He never really bought books. He always went to the library and made use of the information they had there. That's mostly free, right? So he was a constant learner. And one thing that you will find with people that are really, really good investors is that they are always learning. They are always trying to better themselves, right? Warren Buffett always says that he doesn't know a great investor that doesn't love to read, right? So whether it's, Monish Pabrai, Phil Town, Charlie Munger, all these guys, whenever you listen to them, one thing that they all have in common is that they talk about how they're always trying to find the next book, or they're always trying to find a way to learn and to evolve, right? So be a constant learner, don't get stagnant, keep moving, keep learning. And as you can see, it will be a big benefit to you. It's going to make you a better investor, and it's going to make you compound your money, probably even higher than 10% really. But that's the name of the game. Be a lifetime learner, right? Now, this actually then brings me to the final point, and that is he was disciplined, right? Ronald Reed was a disciplined investor, and this might be one of the most important things, as to being a good investor. Peter Lynch always says the most important organ in investing is not the mind, it's the stomach, right? It's the stomach to hold through the hard times. It's the stomach to fight off the temptation, of the newest trend, of the newest, hot stock tip that you hear. It's the newest, cryptocurrency that's going off into the moon. It's the discipline to stick to the strategy you've selected and to just be consistent with it. So Ronald avoided all hype and all the crazy stocks that was probably going on in his time. And he just bought companies that he understood and bought companies that he had spent time researching, right? And once he had bought them, he held them for the long term. Okay, so find a investing strategy that works for you, whether you are a passive investor, whether you're an individual stock picker, whether you are a real estate investor, whatever it is. Be disciplined with it, stick with it, and don't try to flip and flop around, because that's how people lose money in the market. So those are some of the key things that really contributed to this guy who's this average guy, right? This your everyday Joe, retiring with more money than what, most lawyers and doctors end up with, once they retire, right? So the reason why I really wanted to make this video and why I found it really cool, because this is one of the few times where an example of where following the fundamentals can actually lead to financial freedom. It's really easy when you're planning your retirement, or when you're looking at hypothetical situations, when you have a investment calculator that's going to calculate how much you need or how much you could end up with in retirement if you get this amount of return, if you invest into this stock. A lot of it, even though the numbers make sense, a lot of it can still seem pretty far-fetched, right? A lot of it can seem, it's very hard for some people to accept that they can actually achieve these things. And therefore, most people end up not achieving it, right? Because, it seems just so far-fetched. But here is an example of your everyday person working their 9-to-5 job, retiring a multi-millionaire, right? I guarantee you guys, there are doctors, there are lawyers out there who, when they retire, they have nowhere near the amount of money that this man did. And again, he came from humble beginnings. He was a janitor, he worked at a gas station, but this just goes to show you, don't feel like you're stuck in your current situation. Don't feel like if you're just working 9-to-5, it's not possible for you to get financial freedom. It can be as simple as just consistently investing your money, constantly learning and understanding how to invest a bit better, and just sticking with it long term. You don't have to feel like you're trapped in your current situation now, like you're never going to reach financial freedom. It is possible, and Ronald Reed is a great example of that. So guys, that's the video today. If you enjoyed the content, please like the video. It does help out a huge amount with the channel, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the support and appreciate if you're watching this long. If you enjoyed this video, click on the videos that are on the screen right now. It's going to take you to the channel and other videos that's going to help you get a little bit better with your investing practice. So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll definitely see you guys in the next one.